He says, quote, "I like Thomas Mott. He makes our team better with good ideas to get good players." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try, right? It's kind of my job here at Chat Sports. His question is, where should we trade CJ Beathard, or should we trade away another player? Listen, here's the deal. Now, they're probably not going to keep all three quarterbacks, right? Garoppolo to start, and then they're going to have a battle to see if it'll be Mullens or Beathard to back him up. And most of us are kind of thinking that Nick Mullens is going to win the backup job. So we've talked about on this show many times trading CJ Beathard. The issue is now, post-draft, there aren't a lot of places that make a lot of sense that would, be like calling for CJ Beathard. Now, someone gets injured during training camp, which is like, days away, then we could be talking about a serious trade involving CJ Beathard. But I started looking at some of the team's backup quarterback situations. Buffalo has Matt Barkley as their backup quarterback, the former USC Trojan and Philadelphia Eagle. Kind of a noodle arm there, not that great of a backup quarterback. Falcons have the old Matt Schaub. It's like, how great could Matt Schaub be if a problem with Matt Ryan? Other than that, maybe the Lions with Tom Savage. Other than that, a lot of teams seem pretty comfortable with their backup quarterback situation. So again, it'll be a matter of if a quarterback gets injured during training camp, which we don't want, right? Knock on wood, you don't want that to happen to anybody. But if it does, that would make sense for trading CJ Beathard. I really don't know where you could send him right now that would make a lot of sense in terms of the team needing him. But hey, things can change. Other players that you could possibly trade for, Solomon Thomas, you could probably try and shop. They tried to do that pre-draft, but they weren't able to find a trading partner. Again, it's just depth. They'll probably keep him, see what he can do for another year. Maybe a wide receiver if one of the younger guys really stands out. If Hurd is having an excellent training camp, you sit there and you could get something, I don't know, Marquise Goodwin. Again, I don't like that idea, but I'm just trying to give you some names because you asked for it in terms of other people besides CJ Beathard. I don't see a lot of trades happening. Again, right now, teams are pretty content with what they have unless they have an injury, so we'll kind of have to wait and revisit this if an injury actually does happen. All right, moving on here. The G-Man420 on YouTube asks, if you had to pick a position in the 2020 draft, which position would you pick, defense or offense? Okay, so you're basically asking, if I had to pick, let's just change this to like, he's probably asking if you had to pick with our first round pick in 2020, whether you would draft someone on the offensive side or the defensive side, what would you do? Whew, oh boy, this is tough. I mean, both. I feel like the wide receiver position, I'm curious to see how it looks, because right now on paper, it's interesting, but it's not elite. I would love to have some better weapons for Jimmy Garoppolo, so maybe a wide receiver, depending on what the class looks like in 2020. You could also talk about offensive line. The offensive line depth's not that great. They've had injuries all along, people coming back from injuries as well. Maybe cornerback if Witherspoon and maybe Sherman don't turn out to be that great. Defensive line seems to be pretty good. Running back seems to be pretty good. Man, you know what? I'm going to go with cornerback just because let's just assume that one of the two, whether it's Witherspoon or Sherman, has a rough year. Maybe you spend a first-round draft pick on a corner. That'd make a lot of sense. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think in terms of which is stronger for the Niners. Is the offense the strong suit for the Niners this year, or is it the defense? I'm actually curious what you guys have to say. Scroll down below, type O for offense and D for defense, and let me know in the comments section. Good question, though, right? I mean, we got to wait and see what happens this year, but right now, as much as I like what Witherspoon has apparently done in mini camps, coaches really liked him, and of course, Richard Sherman is going to be healthy. I've talked about that on my show. I think a true, surefire, young number one cornerback, a number one draft pick could be very interesting for the Niners going forward. Sure, if that's secondary. Okay, let's move on here. Funny name, interesting name. Again, this is someone on YouTube. Fart Attack 101 on YouTube asks, what do you see the wide receiver depth chart looking like this season? Great question. Talked about this a lot on the 49ers report here on YouTube. We'll throw it up on the board right now. We'll throw it up on the list. I think Deebo Samuel 1, Dante Pettis 2, Marquise Goodwin 3, put Jordan Matthews at 4, Jalen Hurd at 5, and then either Trent Taylor or Kendrick Bourne at 6 and 7, depending on how many they're actually going to keep. Now remember, depth chart 1 through 3, right? Samuel, Pettis, Goodwin, number one wide receiver, right? Whatever, doesn't really matter. Those are your top 3. And depends on, I think Dante Pettis is probably the number one option here in San Francisco, but what does Deebo Samuel do? I don't really know. Jalen Hurd is at 5, but they're going to use Jalen Hurd a bunch. He's not going to be the 5th wide receiver. They're going to move him around. So again, it's a weird way to rank because it's a very interesting wide receiver group because, like I said before, you sit there and you go, yeah, I'm really curious about Dante Pettis, and yeah, I know about Marquise Goodwin's speed, and yeah, Jordan Matthews has played well in the slot in the past in Philadelphia, and then you got rookies. It's an interesting group. It's the one group that I'm really putting my eye on during training camp. I want to know, all the writers and reporters who are there. I'm curious what they think about how they look, because Jimmy G, he's back, he's healthy, he needs wide receivers. All right, Vincent Rojas on YouTube, he asked, what would you rank our defense if everyone is healthy? Again, I'm probably assume total defense. Last year, the San Francisco 49ers were 13th in total defense. So where would I rank them? I think top 15 is probably likely. I think top 10 is possible. I don't see top 5. Now, the defensive line is good, right? Kwon Alexander gets healthy. The linebacker core is interesting. It's the secondary that we all know. They haven't signed Trey Boston like we want them to, but it's just a question marks on the secondary. Can Witherspoon, play up to what we think he can do? Is Richard Sherman going to be back to himself after the injury? Who's healthy in the his safety position with the collarbone, all the kind of stuff. So I think top 15 is likely. If you're outside the top 15, it's going to be a rough year, right? We don't want that. Top 15 likely. Top 10 possible. Top 5 I don't think is possible for the Niners this season. But they're going to be good. They're not going to be bad. They're going to be good. Question here. Where do you think the defense will rank this year? Top 5, top 10, top 15, or worse than that? You guys go ahead and scroll down and comment down below. Very curious what you guys think on that one. All right, let's keep churning, keep moving here. The Greek Freak on YouTube asks, do you think Jalen Hurd will have an impact, will have a chance to make a true impact as a rookie considering his lack of experience as a receiver? Now, if you don't know the Jalen Hurd story, he was a running back at Tennessee, transferred to Baylor to play wide receiver because he thought that he'd have a better chance of being drafted, which he was, because he's also tall for a running back, and he's over 6 foot. At Baylor, I was there because I went to Baylor, and I was at Baylor for his senior season, or his last season at Baylor, so I got to see a lot of Jalen Hurd. Trust me, guys, and I can probably say I'm the foremost expert on Jalen Hurd when it comes to 49ers reporters because, again, that's my school. Watched a lot of his games. He can play wide receiver. He had like 900 yards receiving last year, almost 1,000 receiving yards, and he played a lot of running back, right? He wasn't just always lined up out there. He can go over the middle. He needs to work on running routes and probably the deep ball with speed as well. I think he's going to have a big impact in the Niners offense in the future. Maybe not this year. I don't think we need to be hard on him if he struggles this year. He's got to figure it out. Because, again, he played a lot of tailback in the I formation up there at Baylor with head coach Matt Rule. I love the pick. I loved it when they did it. I think he's going to be good going forward. But let's wait and see and reserve our judgment till next season. Because, again, the NFL wide receiver spot, a lot of the top first-round draft picks can come in and struggle. So we got to see what happens with Jalen Hurd. But I think he's going to be good because, again, he is built like a receiver and did a lot for Baylor at the wide receiver position as well. Okay, moving on here on our mailbag video. Darren Warren on YouTube asks, do you think this year's offense has a chance of being in the top 5 of offenses this year? Ooh, top 5. We just talked about the defense. Top 5 is hard to do. Especially when there's like the Chargers, there's the Chiefs, there's the Eagles, there's the Saints, there's the Falcons. You just think about all these offenses that are going to be very, very high power going forward. Heck, even Cleveland, if that actually works out, Top 5, I'm going to say no. Okay, I think the wide receiver position is a big question mark because I want to know who's our true number 1. Is Dante Pettis going to step up? Top 10, again, I'll go top 15 is likely. Top 10 achievable. Top 5, I don't see. I think it's similar at the defensive position. The offensive line, we've got questions there. And the wide receiver position, what are we going to do? Quarterback, running back, tight end, we're set. Other than that, though, it's not bad. The only thing I hate the wide receivers because I just talked about Jalen Hurd. I like them. But can they be a top 5 offense? That's a pretty darn good offense. We'll see. I don't know. Top 10, top 15 is more likely on that one. Okay, a couple more here. Donovan Avis on YouTube asks, how do you think our season will turn out like record-wise? Okay, record prediction here. I'm trying to remember if I've done a record prediction on here as well. I think I did when it first came out. I think I said 7-9. Here's the deal. I know that last season was a disappointment, but remember, we were injured. So a lot of us in our minds as 49ers fans will sit there and go, well, we're healthy now. Jimmy Garoppolo has more weapons. The defense is, revamped on the defensive line. This is a playoff team. And I'd sit there and go, I could see the argument, but do I believe the argument is the problem? If I was betting my own money on there, would I bet the Niners to make the playoffs? Probably not, because the NFC is stacked, right? You got to sit there and go, Rams, Seahawks, Eagles, Cowboys, Saints, Falcons, Packers, Bears. I mean, only 6 spots, right? So playoffs is, to me, unlikely. And also, I mean, look at the schedule. We play the Steelers, the Panthers, the Packers, the Ravens, the Falcons, and the Saints this year, plus your 2 divisional games against the Rams, who were in the Super Bowl, the Saints, who lost to the Rams in the NFC title game. Oh, or not the Saints, excuse me, the Seahawks, who were also, a very good team last year, who made the playoffs, the Rams, who went to the Super Bowl, and the up-and-coming Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray experiment down there in Arizona. It's a brutal schedule. It's not easy. I think ceiling is 9-7. I think the floor would be 7 wins. Okay, I think 7-9 would be the floor. 9-7 would make sense for the ceiling. You got 10 wins, that'd be a heck of a year. I think if you got to 10 wins, you'd be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo possibly being an MVP candidate. 10 wins would be tough, just because, again, Chiefs, Chargers, Packers, that Ravens defense, the Falcons offense, the Saints, plus their divisional games. It's not easy. It's the NFL schedule, right? We'll see what happens. You can only play who's in front of you that week, but I would say ceiling is 9-7. The floor would be 7-9. I think a bad year would be 6-10. That would be very interesting to see who survives that year if it is a 6-10 year and everybody stays healthy. Okay, last question, or I'll throw up for you guys here. How many wins for the 49ers this season? Give me your predictions, right? I want to scroll down when I view this video and just see your whatever comment you have. At the end, you got to give me a win prediction. I want it on the record on YouTube right now. Scroll down and comment down below.